Hello everyone, I'm Mike McDonald. It's my pleasure again to have Helen Klassen with us for the second part of my interview with her. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this. Helen, once again, I'm taking my questions that I'm going to be asking you from your book, Stepping Out of My Darkness and Into His Light. And this book you wrote, how long ago was that?
Since spring of 2016.
2016, and we're coming into the spring of 2018, so it's not quite 2 years old yet.
That's right.
And so it still has a very relevant message for you. Now, the way I left it last week was we were talking about something that was on one of the pages, page 12. You wrote this. You wrote, "Deep down, I was sick of this lifestyle, and the Lord used 9/11 to stop my wickedness and to turn to Him." And I guess my question is, how did one of the most horrific events in American history end up being a blessing to a lady in Canada? So why don't you just tell us what led up to that?
I thought there was no hope in my marriage. No, there was despair and grief and loneliness in my marriage, that I thought that our marriage was done. So I was involved in not just one affair, two affairs actually, that led to an emotional need that was met in my life at the moment, I thought. But 9/11 just convicted my heart. God got a hold of my heart. It's such a terrible time. People were losing their lives. They were either getting burnt in the towers or had to be jumping out or whatever to save their life, so to speak. And here I was involved in such a wickedness of sin, in adultery, and but God got a hold of my heart and convicted me that I needed to repent. That means turn from your sin and get right with Him.
And it was 9/11. It was the jarring that, here these people are dying. It kind of recentered your focus. Like, what am I doing with my life?
What am I doing with my life?
I had here that then you go through this process where you start having your family. You did actually have children. You had sons, Seth in 2002. Devin in 2004, and Jedediah in 2007. And what I really like about Jedediah's birth was that you wrote this: "I was disappointed within myself when I heard it was another boy." I mean, 3 boys, and you were looking for something else, weren't you?
I was looking for something else. I was looking for a girl, and I was quite determined to have a girl, and I was very discouraged, if you will, at the moment. But then I had to repent of those feelings once again. I knew they weren't right. I knew they were not of God.
Well, I'm glad that you put it there, because I can remember when I remember my second born was born, and I never asked what gender the child was. I wanted to be surprised, and so I remember in the delivery room, the doctor says, "Congratulations, Mr. McDonald, you have a beautiful baby girl." And I'm like, "I've already got one of those." And I didn't know how many more children we were going to have. That could be the last one.
Could be the last one.
And again, I'm just being honest, and that's why when I read that, I'm thinking, I wonder how many other people feel that way.
That's right.
We want designer families where I want boy, girl, or whatever I want.
Yeah.
God gives it to us the way He wants it to be, right?
That's right.
Yeah. But in 2009, you did get your girl, and you named her Charity.
Yes, Charity Mariah.
Mariah. And Mariah was, that's your mother?
Mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
It's a form of Mary, yes.
So Charity Mariah. And this is where I'm going to focus the remainder of our interview here today. And it is a story that's so tragic, you wouldn't want any parent to have to go through this ever. And you wonder sometimes how somebody could go through this and keep their sanity. Okay, Helen, tell us exactly what happened on July 14th, 2012.
something that I never thought we would experience in a million years, actually. To back up, we went vacationing at Triple C Bible Camp. We have gone every single year for the last, I don't know, X number of years with our children. And the night before, we had a great time together as a family, and had a bonfire in the end, and put our kids to bed early. And Charity just was not sleeping very well that night, that Friday night there that we were there. And I don't know if it was something just to do with knowing that's her last time there or something, I don't know. But anyways,
how old was she at this time?
2 years and 8 months and 1 day old. And then the next day it happened where she would have been 2 years and 8 months and 2 days old.
Okay.
But I'm getting to a point here where we had our breakfast that Saturday morning of 2012, July 14th. Just right after breakfast, we had a passerby come to the camp, and he was crawling along in his vehicle, telling everybody at the tent sites that he was having a vegetable stand opening up in the near vicinity there.
Okay.
And what happened was he came to our tent site, and he never fully stopped his vehicle. He just looked out the window, talked to us as he was still driving on by.
Oh, okay.
And it was a crawl that, to a child, of 2 years of age, would not have known anyways, right, that it was danger, right? So, but anyways, as this man was talking, I was standing near the dirt drive, and Charity was just like 1 foot away from me, and I looked over at her to see if she was okay. She had her little baby stroller in there and whatnot, and I looked at her, and her hair was blowing in the wind, and she had such a beautiful smile upon her, and that's the last smile that I ever seen of her. So I remember it to this day, that such a beautiful smile came out of her, and she looked right at me. And then I thought she'd be okay, and I thought the driver was done speaking, so I turned myself around, walked a couple of feet, sat down at the picnic table that we had near the dirt drive by the tent there anyways.
Right.
And as soon as I sat down, I looked over at my husband, and because there was some commotion, and I looked over at my husband, and he had his hand up, and he never really yelled. He just slowly said, "Stop," like that loud. He said, "Stop," to the driver. And I'm thinking, what's going on? Why is he telling the driver to stop? I thought the communication was over. But anyways, as I looked where he was commotioning for him to stop, as soon as I looked over, there it was. Charity was underneath the midst of the vehicle. My view was behind the vehicle, so the vehicle was in front of me. Okay. And my view was behind the vehicle, and here was her head coming out, rolling out from underneath the tire, and her body was tangling up underneath the body of the van, and that's when I lost it. Right. That's when I see that she was not getting out from underneath the van. She was motionless, and I just freaked out. I told my husband to please go get Charity. I could not move. I was at that time I did not know, but I was in a state of shock, and I did not know it. I could not move. I was paralyzed for a second, and I told my husband, please go get her, not knowing that with head injuries you don't move a person. I don't think, like, you don't usually move a person with their, you can lose consciousness or whatever. But my husband anyways went to go get her from underneath the tire, and dragged her out and got her out, and there it was, all the blood spilling all over the place, coming out of her nose, her ears, her eyes, whatever. It was just coming out of everywhere. And that's when I freaked even worse, because to see blood that magnified, I don't do well with that. Little cuts I'm okay with, but to see blood splashing like a fountain everywhere, it was...
oh dear, I don't think anybody... You could be a trained emergency nurse, when especially when it's your child.
When it's your own flesh and blood, and to see that happen, I was so overwhelmed that someone had to make the 911 call. Like, I freaked out, and my husband was holding her and brought her right to my feet, believe it or not. And I just could not stand it. I was paralyzed at the time, but I could not stand the view that I had to get away from there. Right. So I got my cell phone, and I just booked it out of there.
Did you make the 911?
I made the 911 call. Yes, I did, and they kept me on the phone till the ambulance, the paramedics got there, and
Now you wrote, I think it said 45 minutes.
That's what I believed it was. That's how long I thought it was from the time that it happened to the time that they got there.
Right.
But when I was speaking to the 911 operator about a year and a half after at my first book signing, we were talking about that, and she said, no, Helen, it was only a few minutes. It was only like 15, 20 minutes.
You know what? It probably felt like 45 minutes, right?
It felt like 45 minutes, and that's what I wrote in my book. I'm hoping that people don't think that I'm lying here.
This is your point of view.
My point of view at the time.
It's good to straighten that out. So I'm just going along with that story. I mean, this is and I'm glad you're able to answer this, because I know it takes because you relive it every time you tell it.
You do relive it, and I've had to say it several times, so that's why I'm here today, to be able to share it and not break down in tears. Inside I'm crying, but outside I don't have to show it as much anymore, because I've had to say it several times over. So
right, and that's and I'm glad you're able to do that, or else I wouldn't have asked you. The other thing is that of course now you end up at the hospital.
Yes, right? I ended up at the hospital. Yeah.
What happened there?
First, I was directed into a private room. I got there by myself. 2 campers brought me to the hospital so my husband could stay behind and watch the boys for just like a few minutes till he got himself situated. The police officer did not allow me to drive because they knew that I was not in state of mind.
Good idea.
Good idea. I was not in state of mind, and they said that. He said to the campers, "You'll be following, but you're not really following. Like you're following behind us, but you're not really following behind us, because we'll be going so fast that you can't keep up. So don't try to keep up," is what they were saying.
Yes.
So when I got to the hospital, this camper Ron came in with me, and the driver stayed back outside, and we were directed into a private room. And I thought, into a private room, this already seems sketchy. Not sketchy, but it already seems like you feel a sense of warning already that there's something majorly wrong, or that she is already passed. So so you're already starting to get. Are you at this point? You're already feeling that she's gone. At what point was there a point before they told you she had died that you actually considered that she might be dead, or no, you were hanging on? I don't know how to answer that honestly, so I'll just not answer that totally, because I don't recall. The Lord is gracious, and He's blocked a lot of memory, a lot of things in me that I don't recall. So I to not answer that honestly, I'll just leave that alone for now, because I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So you're in a private room.
We're in a private room, and in just a matter of minutes, I'll say, because this wasn't long.
Okay. In
a matter of minutes, the doctor came in. And he just held his hands and shaking his head like,
really?
We lost her. She's gone, like, or something like that. Anyways, we lost her. She's gone. We're terribly sorry. And you could see tears coming out from him too.
From the doctor.
From the doctor, yeah.
I mean, that's got to be trauma to a doctor too, trying to save such a young person's life.
That's what in my second book, if you will.
Okay.
I have contributions in there from people from all over, and I have the ER doctor writing into my book actually, and he does say to that extent that this is one of the worst things that they've ever faced, is the death of a child, and they're always try to be prepared, yet they're never prepared for a situation this hard. Like yeah, exactly. That I can only imagine what they go through. Yes.
So he comes in, he's shaken, he has to tell you that she's gone, and how do you react? Well,
from what I can remember, I just sat there crying. I was already crying and bawling already, and I just sat there crying. No way, like this can't be true. And and then, but I sobered up quite quickly for some odd reason. I don't remember. I remember that I sobered up quite quickly, because maybe, like you said, I probably already had that feeling that she was already dead before, like, and I was coming to grips with it. So they brought me in to where Charity was laying there, and she was all hooked up to machine and
like a neck brace
and all kinds of different things. Gadgets were on her already, and she was just laying there still. And I went in there so softly, so quietly, and approached her and sat on the edge of her bed, and I just laid myself on her, on my head upon her stomach a little bit, trying to hold her a bit, and then all I said was I want to hold her, and then the nurses got it. They said, yes, we'll make sure that you can, like we'll unhook these tubes and all these things that were attached to her, and then I was able to hold her, actually put her on my lap and hold her.
Right. Did that help?
It helped me to get my feelings out. I cried some more once again, and I knew this would be the last time that I would physically hold her,
Right.
So I wanted to do that. I wanted to hold her.
And the nurses and everybody was okay with that?
They were okay. Amazingly, they were okay with that. They unhooked her, and then that's when my husband came in.
Okay.
He already got the news previous. I think the doctor must have talked to him before he entered the room.
Right. So he was prepared, but he comes in and you're holding Charity this time. Okay.
I was holding Charity already at this point.
Now, the thing through all this is that I sometimes end up wondering the state of mind of your husband, because he had to go through this too. And he's like, you were not prepared for it. Nobody else was prepared for it. He's not prepared for it. And just from what I know of your husband, he's, again, as I said, he's a strong silent type.
Yes, he is a very strong silent type.
So it's hard to find out what's going on in his life. But
I still don't know to this day how he actually felt or coped, because he doesn't open up. He's a very quiet man, and he doesn't share a whole lot, but he came in already with tears. I could see tears coming out, and all he did was approach us, bent down, and just held his hand upon her somewhere, like on her body somewhere, and just cried with me, and I haven't seen him cry in years, and he's not that type of man to actually cry. So, but I asked, would you like to hold Charity? And he said no. Right. That was not him. Yeah. He did not want to do that, no.
Yeah, and that's fine too, isn't it?
Oh, that's fine. The way that he copes is the way that he coped. I had to do it. He couldn't. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So so now you're together. Charity is gone, and you eventually have to leave the hospital. There comes that time.
There comes that time, but before we left, I was taking quite the lengthy time there. I think we were there for a good 2 hours or so, just me holding Charity.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's, in my mind, what I can recall, that's what it was anyways, because it took a long time for me to let go. Because
how did you know when to leave? Did somebody say it's time to leave?
Yes.
Basically?
Yes.
Or would you have been there all day and all night?
I'm thinking that I probably would have. Yeah, it physically could have happened, because that's probably what was going to happen. Because what happened was the doctor, they need the rooms, right? That was an operating room, and they need the rooms for other emergencies and type things. Yes. So I had to leave the room, and I said, I'm not leaving without Charity. So I held on to Charity, and I walked Charity to another private room.
Right.
In the midst of the hospital there.
So now you can kind of imagine, now here's the staff, and they're thinking, we might have a problem here.
We might have a problem here, yes, right? Exactly.
And again, it's an understandable problem, but it's something that they're going to have to deal with. And so were they able to reason with you to let her go?
After a while. Now, the thing was, they let me in a private room and give me some more time, because Daryl didn't have a lot of time with her. Yes. As much as, I was in the hospital a little bit longer than he was, so... I first of all, I was sitting in a chair for the longest time, holding her and consoling myself, I guess. I don't know. And then in walked Pastor Brent Thomas and his wife. Right. They were called. They were told to come to the hospital, and
he's your pastor at the time.
At the time, he was our pastor, so he was told to come and to sit with us and to help us. And
how was he reacting?
But they both came in crying. They both were silently crying. They just did not know what to say. Just that they're sorry and whatnot, the regular talk, whatever. But
what can you say, really?
What can you say? I wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah, it's like, what do you say to somebody that buck up and perk up? And you can't, or it'll be better. No. She's in the hands of the Lord. You can say certain things,
you can say those cliches, but they don't work. No, not at the time. They don't work.
Not at that time.
No.
Now, so he shows up with his wife, and now you're there. Was there prayer? Was there just silence? How did that?
There was just silence at the time, and then
Okay.
he was called out. If my memory serves me right, he was called out to talk to the doctors or something like that. I think they were trying to convince him to convince me to come out because the social
Right.
workers and everybody needed to talk to us to see if they could help us in any manner, right?
Right. So you're really I mean, I don't know how else to think, like, because you're going through what you've gone through. I mean, there's just no script. Like, what should you be doing, right?
What should you be doing?
You're
That's
just
right.
trying to do what's coming natural to you. I need to be with my daughter.
That's right. As a mother
Yes.
would.
Yes, and so I think your story is so relevant, and it's so important because from time to time, unfortunately, people go through this. And it's
They
like,
do.
is there any hope? Is it, and that's why I'm kind of asking you these questions. It's definitely not out of a morbid curiosity. I just want to know, how does a person navigate the best they can in the most horrible situation? I can't think of a more horrible situation because it's your child.
It's your child.
It's
yeah.
just like, how does it get any worse than that? And this is what you're going through. So eventually you do leave.
Before I left the room, actually, they didn't tell me that this would be the last time that I would see Charity, but within myself, I wanted to be prepared.
Right.
So what I did was, I took her sandals off,
Okay.
and I kissed both of her feet before I left the room. I kissed both of her feet like she would have done to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, at that time, what did I notice at that time, or did I notice when the sandals came to me at the funeral home? But
You
no,
wrote that it was later.
Later. Okay,
Yep.
with that. Okay.
I know you're going with that, but
Okay.
the wings.
The wings, yes. That was later, okay. All I know is that I kissed her feet anyways, and I took the sandals and I put them beside her and I left them there, and then
Right.
we left the room, and then we were led to another private room alone with our pastor and his wife and the social workers and possibly a nurse, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
And what did they do for you? Like the social workers and the nurse, what was their function, their role at this moment?
they wanted to help us in any way possible.
Okay.
If we need counseling, to get counseling done, if we need whatever done,
Mm-hmm.
if we need to visit at the home or whatever. And I perked up and I said right away, no, I don't need no help. I got a direct phone line to God.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you find later on that you should have taken the help, or you did from the social workers, or there's
I
no
don't
way of
know.
knowing, is
There's
there?
no way of knowing. That's
Yeah.
right. I don't know.
And the reason I'm asking that is because I know how the story goes, and it's not good.
No,
right?
it's not good. No.